Hello everybody, my name is Chimma and welcome to my injury updates. So that's cool. Yep. It's also not just an injury update. I'm going to talk about my run, my race, my freaking trail run, my first trail run I've ever done, ever. So that's pretty cool. It's also pretty stupid to think that after only being a so-called roadie, I'll talk about that later, and not having any trail run experience, thinking that I could run 28Ks. And also, originally, I was going to do the 56K, but I was too slow. So, did not do that. But yeah, anywho, the race started pretty chill. I'll put a photo up on how excited I was for the actual race to start. Let's just say I was pretty excited. And I was feeling pretty good, you know. First couple Ks, I was overtaking tons of people, because I'm used to running on the road, done it plenty of times, and everyone was going pretty slow, which I was like, why are they doing this? Like, come on, surely we can go quicker. And I was going to this race like, I'm going to beat like everybody, I'm gonna go so fast, I'm gonna be so sick, and that did not end up happening. Anywho, we got to the first hill, everybody started to walk, and I was like, stay hard, motherfucker, I'm not walking. And so I started like, going up, but then eventually we got to the trail part, which was the start of the trail, and it was fucked. You could not run up that shit even if you tried. I was lunging up the steps, and there was just no chance that I was running up that shit. And that, I think we were climbing for a good like 5, 6, 7 minutes, because we're climbing a fucking mountain. And I'm thinking, how is anyone gonna run up this? Okay, like stay hard, I guess, but also how? So I started walking with everyone else. I'm like, all right, I guess we'll walk up the hills then. That's okay. And then we get to the very top and everyone's like, all right, we're running now. I'm like, okay, that's my jam. And so I start to run and I'm like, I'm feeling in a good groove, except my hip. My hip is stiff. Now, funny enough, if you watched the last video, you would have seen my New Year's vlog. And in that vlog, I talk very briefly, I think for like 5 seconds, about me running to the gym in my hazmat suit. And that was all fine. Except it wasn't. I actually sustained an injury that day to my hip, and I felt it a little bit bad, a little bit of tightness, a little bit of soreness in that area, and I just thought, oh, I probably just pulled something. It's fine. It'll be completely fine. I'll just leave it. And so I kept on training on that even after I pulled it, and I kept on training on it every second day for running, and I was also running to the gym, so that didn't help. Until the last session before the race, which was about 4 days before, and it was in a lot of pain. And I was like, okay, if I leave it for 3 days, surely it's just going to go away and I'll never have the problem again. So that's what I did. I left it. And now, a couple cases into this race, I start to feel the pain again. And I'm like, oh shit. So now I'm running and I'm like, all right, my hip hurts. Stay hard though. So I keep on running. You know, what am I going to stop with a little hip pain? That's not me. So I keep on running. And my best guess to what happened is my left leg started to overcompensate for my right hip being pretty fucked. And so I started putting a bit too much pressure on the left leg. And because it's a trail run, there is moments when you have to sort of run downhill. And the ground's not stable. There's rocks everywhere. There's shit all over the place. And I personally didn't know that running down it was a bad idea. So I was sprinting down the hill. I was picking up momentum, and I honestly found it quite hard to stop. I'm pretty surprised I didn't trip over, because it felt like I was going to trip. And I honestly tried. I tried to slow down. I've like pulled myself back with my incredibly large back muscles that I definitely have. And it didn't work. So that's another thing I want to say though. When you're running a trail run, this is the first thing that I noticed. You go up and you're like, I fucking hate going up. I hate uphill. And then you go down and you say, downhill's actually worse. But anywho, I started going down this hill, and I think that's when I sustained the injury to my knee. But I keep on running, of course, because who wouldn't? And we get to a bit of a long stretch of straight, and I'm like getting in my groove, because I run on flat ground all the time. So this is like my jam. And I'm running on this straight land road and shit, and I'm feeling fine. A little bit of pain in the hip, no pain in the leg yet. But then it hits me at about 11 kilometers in. I start feeling these sharp pains shooting up my left leg, and I'm like, okay, I'm hard, but am I that hard? I don't really know. I can't really describe to you other than shooting pains, but it sort of felt like it was stinging, and it was just like this, I'd say at least 8 to 9 out of 10 pain, just shooting up my leg close to my knee area, and I was like, oh, that's not right. And on top of that, my hip was very tight. So if anyone was at the event, you could probably vouch for the fact that I had my arm about here, holding my hip. And I was like, running along the trail. And so that's what I was doing most of the time. About a kilometer later, or maybe a couple hundred meters later, this lady behind me that had been cheering on like everyone that's been running was like, "Oh, you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I think I tore something in my leg." And she's like, "Yeah, because you've been like dragging your feet. You don't look good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't look good." And she's like, "Oh, do you want me to go send you someone help?" And here's the thing about me. I don't like to admit when I'm hurt. Or I'm a bit too cocky. A bit too cock in my ass, or whatever they call it. But I literally, before I accepted help, I think about 10 different women and one guy was running by me and saying, "Do you need help?" And I was like, "No, it's fine. Okay, it's just a leg. I'll be fine. Or I can make it to the next aid station." But the thing about the first woman that came by, she was like cheering everyone on. She was like, okay, she accepted that I was like gonna make it to the next aid station. She just said to me, the next aid station was 2 kilometers away. And I'm like, okay, I'm hard enough to get another 2Ks. I can limp there. And so when she goes and gets out of sight, I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm running. So I start to run, and these shooting pains come up my leg, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna burst through these woods. They're gonna see me running and be like, that kid's got it. That kid's got some spirit in him. The aid station wasn't 2Ks away. It was fucking 7 kilometers away. 7, not 2. 7. So I'm running. People are like, "Oh, you okay? You want some help?" I'm like, "No, it's only a K away. I'll be fine." Split pace 9. I was about to say 9:30. That'd be a complete lie. Split pace 13:20. Kilometer 14. Hang on a minute. It's been 3Ks since she said it was 2Ks away. Something's not right here. So now I'm in the middle of the fucking forest. And I'm like, all right, I'm 50-50 gonna die. I've got this hip pain, and my leg feels like it's going to die. And what if there's snakes around? Luckily, it was pretty cool. It actually ended up thunderstorming later that day, which we'll talk about in a sec. So yeah, there was no snakes, luckily. But I did in the moment think that I was gonna get bitten by a snake. Had my snake bandages though. So your boy's been prepped. But yeah, I was just like, I'm literally just in the middle of the forest. And there's no reception. There's no reception in a fucking forest. So I'm dead ass out there alone. No one out there. I think I passed this photography woman at some point. And I was just like, okay, I'm about to get to her. I'm completely fine. Pass her. And so yeah, about maybe 17.4 kilometers or 17.2 Ks, or probably about 16.5. This lady came up to me, the final lady that came up to me and was like, "Oh, like, how are you?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing too good. I've torn something in my leg." And then she's like, "Do you want me to send help?" And I was like, "Yes, please." And that was I finally accepted help. Okay, took me like 10 people before I accepted help, but I eventually accepted help. Okay. And she went off and got someone, and this guy, very lovely guy, came up to me, and I was like putting my arm on the back for stability, and we were talking, and he was basically just like, "Don't let this discourage you. Trail runs are hard, whatever." But yeah, essentially, I get to the thing. They sit me down in the chair. They're like, "What's wrong?" And I think I've torn something in my hip because I think my hip caused me to tear something in my leg. And they're like, "Oh shit, not good." And so this guy's like, "I'll drive you." And I'm like, "All right, cool. Where are we going?" He's like, "I'll drive you to the road, and then your dad can pick you up from there." And I'm like, "Sick." So we drive across like this like grassy area in the back rooms, and we get to this point, and he's like, "Bravo to team leader 6. What the fuck's going on?" And because there's no reception, no one's picking up. So we're sitting there for about 20 minutes. I'm just sitting there like, I'm really disappointed in myself. I can't believe I failed. This sucks. And then I'm hearing, "Cody, do copy?" Cody didn't fucking copy. So then eventually this other guy came in, and he had a little car. It's quite an old car. It's yellow. And he said, "You can come with me." And I went in the back of his car, and then he took me to the finish line where my dad was, and I found him, and that was my race experience. Now we get to the injury. I know one of two of them. I did get my hip x-rayed today, so I still need to get the results back for that. But the injury I do know is in my leg. I have a meniscus tear, which I have no idea what that means. But apparently it's going to take me out for 2 weeks. Like, I can't do anything for 2 weeks, and then I also have to strengthen it up. And then my hip, the physio said she thinks it's a stress fracture. which is about a 6-week injury, I think, before I can start strengthening it up, or I might strengthen it up for 6. I have no idea. But your boy's cooked. I'm injured for at least 6 weeks. And normally, I would say stuff like, oh, stay hard, just keep on running, and just ignore the injuries. David Goggins ran on broken legs. But the problem is, I had already been running on this stretch fracture for the last 2 weeks. And it's gotten pretty bad. Yeah, I think I have to actually take the rehab and work. Who the fuck was that? I've actually got to work in this rehab. So not the greatest news for me, because I was actually planning on doing a really long fucking run in two months' time. I'm not quite sure if I want to reveal that run, because it's going to be a cool secret project that I was working on, and then I was going to show you. It was going to be this big, long something. I can't say it. And you guys were going to really love it. And it's disappointing that that thing that I was working on is probably not going to come for a little bit longer now. And my dreams of running my first ultra marathon before I turn 18 is pretty much over. So that sucks. But hey, gonna get to run again one day. Just gotta heal up. But anyway, thank you for watching my injury update / race recap. If you're injured, heal up. And if you're not, stay hard. So I actually invented that saying, I think. Don't sue me, David Goggins. Peace out.